Okay, we now welcome on our first ever guest.
Big time.
To the Make It Take It podcast.
Big time.
He's been a guard for BYU's basketball team for the past 4 years, coming off of a great senior campaign, playing a big role on a very talented BYU team that was poised to make a great run in the tournament. In high school, he was 4A MVP and state champion at Bountiful High School and former Utah Gatorade Player of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Zac Seljaas. How have you been lately?
I've been good. I mean, all this quarantine life, we're out in Texas right now, just waiting for our baby to get here and, just living the life.
That's awesome, dude.
You look
Sounds
great.
good.
You got a full beard now.
Yeah.
Not just the mustache.
Yep, the full beard. Just got to add on to the mustache.
Yeah, just let it ride all the way through. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, cool. We'll go ahead and get started. I kind of want to go back, maybe to start. I want to go back to maybe your beginnings, because when did the basketball journey start for you? When did you start playing, and when did you really? Not only when did you start playing, but what was the moment where you really felt like you could actually maybe have a future in this?
I mean, basketball was a big thing in my family. My grandpa played basketball. He actually played professionally overseas as well. And he kind of started it on my mom's side. And then my dad was kind of the first generation basketball player. And so it kind of all came together. I mean, my dad played at BYU Hawaii, and then he coached all my siblings and me growing up. My oldest sister played basketball at BYU as well. So when she was in high school, I was just little. And so I was always watching her play. And then when she was at BYU, I was watching her play as well. And I think at that time, even at a young age, probably around 5 or 6, I was like, man, I want to play basketball. And I think that's kind of when it started, because I loved it. I loved being on the court. I mean, I wanted school to end so bad so I could just go play basketball. And so it's just always been a love. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think that's the coolest thing is, like, especially just like as an athlete, having that role model of somebody and multiple people to look up to that are especially close to you in your life, leading up to be able to allow you to develop into something special. I mean, Jason and I both played sports, none of us at a Division I level like yourself, but one thing we know, and one thing pretty much every athlete knows, is something that's super common in sports is adversity. There's a lot of trials, a lot of different challenges that you face, whether it be in, your little peewee basketball, high school basketball, college basketball. But for you, what was like maybe some adversity you faced leading up to college, like in high school maybe, that maybe got you over a hump to be able to get to the level in which you were, to get these high school accolades, to get scholarships, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one of those guys that had like this dramatic thing where someone was like, you'll never make it. And then I was like, oh yeah, I was never like I never had that kind of, problem in high school or growing up. But I think kind of just being, the only person that, like, out of my family that wanted to really pursue it professionally. I mean, my sister played college, my dad played college, but I wanted to outdo that. I wanted to go past them and be better than anyone in my family. And so the thing I knew is that I had to make the high school team. I had to do well. I had to make a college team, and I had to do well there to be able to even go further. And so I think that was kind of like my pushing point to be good at basketball, is to be able to at least have that family competition to just be better than everyone,
Yeah. That's awesome.
Brennan was a better athlete than I was, but we were never, recruited or anything like that. And so I'm kind of curious, like, I don't know how it feels to be in high school and to be recruited.
Sought after.
Yeah. Not only by like just any college, but like you were being recruited by BYU, and I don't know what other schools you were recruited by, and you could tell us about that. But I want to know, like, when you were that young, when you were in high school, what was it like? Were you more nervous, or was it just all excitement? No jitters. It was just I'm in my element. I'm doing my thing, or were you kind of nervous? Like, shoot, like
big leagues now.
These are serious schools who are recruiting me.
Yeah, I mean, it was a whole world of emotions. I mean, you and where I was from in Davis County, you had junior high, seventh, eighth, and ninth, and then high school was sophomore, junior, senior, right? And so to be able to play up as a freshman, you had to still go to school at the junior high, and then you had to be released to go up to the high school.
That's
And so I I did that as a ninth grader. I went up to the high school and I had to drop my last two classes. And so I was a little bit behind in school because I couldn't finish certain things, but I was able to make that up as I went. But it was just a very different thing. And I think that ninth grade year going up, I was like, man, this is like, these guys are so good. And that was like eye opening. But after you kind of get into it and then you realize like, all right, I can be pretty good. And I mean, my kind of, I don't know what you call it, my partner in crime at Bountiful High was Sam Merrill, who was at Utah State,
Okay.
who was amazing. I mean, he's going to go do incredible things, maybe in the NBA, who knows. But he was a year older than me, so he kind of helped me through that all. He was kind of like that guy that kind of pushed me to be better. And we always had that competition. And so, I mean, that kind of helped. And plus him getting recruited, kind of people saw me. And then that's kind of like how the whole recruiting process went, is that all these schools were looking at him and then they're like, oh, who's this guy? Who's this tall, lanky guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how it went. And then BYU came, and I mean, they offered me my sophomore year, and I committed right then. I was like, man, that feels right.
That's
I
not,
mean, and so it was a breeze after that. Then all the pressure was off me.
I guess that's true. Once you get that commitment out of the way, it's like, okay, well,
Just
I
time to
already know
ball
where I'm
out
going.
now.
Time to just prove myself worthy of the scholarship they're giving me, right?
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Sophomore year.
Yeah, that's wild.
You mentioned the lanky thing. You said when you were in high school you were lanky, and I definitely noticed that, like looking at film from your freshman year at BYU as opposed to when you graduated. What you look like right now. You've definitely bulked up a little bit. You put on some muscle. What went into that? I mean, was that something that you decided to do on your own, or did somebody be like, Zach, you got to bulk up if you want to make it big, or what? What really went into that decision and that work?
Well, so my freshman year going into college, I probably weighed about 210 max,
And how
and
tall?
I was probably 6'7". I mean, 6'7", 6'8". I was the same height. And then I left on my mission right after my freshman year. And I mean, those of you who know a mission, you're either gaining weight or you're losing so much weight. And I had,
about it.
yeah, yeah. And so I gained weight and probably got up to almost 270. And I was a big man. And then getting home, I mean,
Did
I was,
you try out? Were you
yeah.
considering joining the O line at BYU when you got home? Was that?
I mean, it was about that point in my life where I had to decide.
Career decision.
Yeah, but I kind of got to that point where I tried to lose it all, but it kind of stuck around in some places. And going into this last year, my senior year, one of the coaches talked to me and he's like, "Hey, you're skinny fat," and that hit me. And so I was like, I need to change that. What was that?
Can you tell us who the coach was?
Yes, it was Cody Feger. And I don't care if he knows, because he's
on the hot seat now.
Yeah, he knows that was him.
Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, no, and then after that, it just kind of triggered. And I mean, I was in the gym with our strength coach every day. I was at the pool. I mean, it was all summer was a grind. I mean, I barely saw my wife because I was in the weight room. I wasn't even on the basketball court. And I mean, it got to the point where now I love lifting, and I crave it. And it's like I crave it more than basketball sometimes. So it's kind of a weird thing. But I mean, yeah, it's helped a lot.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, they kind of go hand in hand. But to that point, I guess it's like, so like when you think of like the football team, like a college football team, you think of them just like the entire team, just straight meatheads, right? Just lifting all day, every day. For you going into your senior year, you lifting a ton. Was it like a whole team thing? Was the whole basketball team spending a ton of time in the weight room, or is it kind of a solely you and the strength coach kind of doing your own thing, putting your own work in?
It was just me, honestly. I mean, guys followed, and guys were already ahead of me in that. Like I was behind in that kind of
Definitely not too
element.
fast.
Yeah, I was about to say there's definitely some boys.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not to bash on TJ Haws, but we were kind of lifting the same weight at the start of the summer, and then I finally graduated from lifting his weight to a little more weight.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it at that there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of me. And then when we went to Italy, I actually broke my foot and I couldn't do anything. So it was all upper body lifts from there because I couldn't do any basketball. So then it just got even more on more. So
Um, Speaking to your point of the coach that called you skinny fat, you played 4 years at BYU. You played 3 years under Coach Rose. Is that right?
yep.
Yeah, 3 years under Coach Rose, and then
Yeah.
you're under Coach Pope. And speaking from an outsider's perspective, somebody who's not in the locker room, it just seems like Coach Pope got the program running so much. Not to bash on Coach Rose, he's been a great coach for many years, but it seems like he just rejuvenated the basketball program in less than a year. I mean, BYU was poised to make a run in the tournament that, I mean, this was one of the best teams that BYU has had in several years, probably since, Jimmer was around. And so Coach Pope really got things going this year. And I just want you to talk a little bit about him. What did he bring to the program that was new and that was fresh, and how was it different from Coach Rose?
I mean, Coach Rose was an amazing coach, and you just like can't get past that point. But there is a time when, Coach Rose has been coaching for a very long time, and it gets. I mean, all the hours you spend and hours you put into it all, it wears you out like crazy. And so, I mean, it was kind of a time where Coach Rose really needed to, kind of step down, and he did a great job, and he prepared us so well for so many things. And I think when Coach Pope came in, Coach Pope was kind of ready to crack the whip a little bit, get us kind of in line, but then realized how much every single guy on the team wanted to win. He didn't have to force us to go to practice. He didn't have to force us to do extra work. We were wanting to do it so bad. I mean, we're a veteran team, and so we just wanted to win as much as we can because it's our last year. And I think Coach Pope realized that, and instead of trying to get us to form into his style, he just kind of created this energy instead, and this energy to be able to get us just ready for war basically every single day, and to make sure that we weren't giving up on any play, we weren't resting. We're just going to give it our all every single day and just see where it takes us. And Coach Pope is just so good at being able to communicate that kind of scenario and be able to get people so hyped that it's like a David beat Goliath type thing. Like he can create so many Davids and beat all the Goliaths ever, and he's just so good at that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually had on my mission, I had dinner with Coach Pope. He was in Florida, just like randomly visiting his sister, and popped in
Okay.
an appointment that we had. So I met him. That was while he was the coach at UVU. And so then when I came back to Provo, it was kind of cool to see him get hired back at BYU and see. But it was just like from the little bit that I met him, you can just tell that he's got like a knack for building relationships and like you said, creating that energy of just like helping people like get better, be better, and like maximize potential. But I think the thing that I thought was coolest this season was just like watching you guys. It seemed like the relationship and the chemistry, like although he had only been the coach for that season, it seemed like the chemistry, the relationship between, I mean, obviously the teammates, you guys have been playing together for a few years, but between you guys and him especially, seemed as if you guys had been together for years, even though it had only been a couple months at that point. It was pretty cool to see. What was it, do you think, about him that allowed that to happen?
Well, a thing that a lot of people don't know or kind of realize is that when Coach Pope was the assistant coach, that's when he recruited us all.
Okay.
I mean, he was the one that offered me, and I was the
Oh,
one that
really?
committed to him. And so I wanted to play for, Coach Pope and Coach Rose, that duo, you
Okay.
know,
That's awesome.
yeah. And so that's the same with like TJ and Yoli, like they all committed under Coach Pope. And when he left, then we all came in and played for Coach Rose. And I mean, we wanted to be at BYU in general, but Coach Pope kind of really got us there. And so when he left, we were like, okay, we got to do all this with the new assistant coaches. And then when he came back, it was like, all right, I'm here. Like, let's finish this out. And so it was just kind of like that, that end to the perfect beginning of being recruited and all that stuff and going through all these trials and then him just coming and being like, all right, it's time. Let's put it all together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I had no idea about that he was there when you guys were getting recruited. That's pretty cool to just like end it like that, the start to the finish, kind of go full circle in that way.
And I'm sure
Yeah.
when they brought him back, you guys were just stoked, like I'm sure you guys were a little bit bummed, when he left, and he wasn't gone that long, all of a sudden
Yeah, exactly.
he's right back there and he's now your head coach. So that's really cool. I mean, that really makes more sense of how he was really able to get the chemistry going so well. And it really was, like I said before, it really was one of the best years of BYU basketball that there have been in a long time. And in your 4 years, it was probably your best shot to make a good run in the tournament. And so I want you to kind of go back to before the pandemic happened. In those last, the end of those last few games that you guys were playing leading up to the tournament, what was the attitude that you had in the general atmosphere in the locker room that you guys had pre-pandemic, pre-tournament? What were your guys' hopes for the season, and how high, how energized were you guys during that period?
You asked that, and man, like think about, I just get the chills all over again because like it was just so crazy. I mean, going to that Gonzaga game, I mean, that was incredible.
Not
I
the best
mean,
game you've ever played in.
yes, for sure. I mean, that was like a movie. Like it was incredible. I mean, you can't even explain how amazing that whole atmosphere, the fans, the game, and like how it all played out. It was just incredible. And then you go from that, and we go to the conference tournament and play St. Mary's, and we had kind of a struggle of a game, but it was right there, and Jordan Ford hits that amazing last second shot. I mean, and all credit to him for hitting that.
Yeah.
And we were, I mean, every loss is kind of disappointing, but we were like, all right, now it's time to just get onto the tournament. It's win or go home now.
Mhm.
And we were all fired up. We just lost, so we know that we hate that feeling, and so we're going into practice ready to just even fight each other because we want to play so bad.
Yeah.
And we're going through warm up and everything, and we warm up, and then we go watch film and get ready, and we start watching film, and right before we're about to head back down for practice, we get the news that the tournament was canceled, and we all just kind of sat there in shock, and it was so emotional. Like I don't know if there was any dry eyes in the entire room.
I don't doubt
I
it.
mean, it was heartbreaking, and we were just so prepared and on such a high that we're ready to win, that it just hit us so hard, and all we could do is just go home from there, and practice was done, and it was like there was no way to end the season, and it was really heartbreaking, and it was really hard for those first few days, and then it kind of just like, all right, you just got to live with it. And so it was a tough time.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, just the two complete extremes, right? You're just so high, so ready to rock and roll, and then everything's just cut out from under you. I mean, that's brutal. That'd be tough. I was gonna ask, how was that, like, the news broken to you? Was it?
I'm not entirely sure on how they got the information. I think it was through a text. I think it was kind of passed through athletic directors.
Okay.
Like the NCAA sent it to them, and then the athletic director sent it to the coaches.
Mhm.
But we were going through film and then going through like a presentation on how to, stay safe during the whole COVID-19 stuff. And it was like a procedure that the NCAA brought out to be able to go through so we could stay safe during that time. And so we went through it. We're like, all right, great. Like, we're going to stay safe. We're just going to win. We don't care if there's fans. Like, we don't even care. And then right as that happened, that's when our assistant got a text, and he's like, hey, it's done.
Oh my gosh.
It's horrible.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. That's like, yeah, I can't imagine.
Well, let's try to brighten things up here a little bit, because that's super sad. I want to talk about your look, right? I mean, recently on Instagram, you did a poll, and you said which look is the best. You had your freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year, and I don't know what happened. Was it your junior year where you just went buzz cut? I don't know what you were thinking that year.
Yeah.
That wasn't very Zac Seljaas of you. You're just a bold guy. You're not afraid to stand out. And how did you develop that? I mean, at what point in your life did you start becoming the person who wasn't afraid to stick out and be different, and look different from other people?
I mean, I don't want to, I'm not a very arrogant person. I don't like to, talk about myself a lot. And I think my look and like just not caring what people think is my arrogance coming out. Like, honestly, like, it's like, I don't like to talk about myself. I don't like to be like, oh, I'm really good at this and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that's kind of like my way of being arrogant in a sense. It's just always been a thing. I always wanted to be different. I always wanted, to have a different look or stuff. Even in high school, like wear crazy shoes or, something that's a little different. And just kind of went on to college, and BYU made it a little bit harder with the honor code, but I made it work.
Yeah. I was gonna say, you made it work with the hair, with the mustache. I mean, whether you were going for it or not, I mean, it honestly kind of became like almost a national thing. Whereas like going into March Madness, a bunch of people were talking about it, like the mustached man in college basketball, Zac Seljaas. That's kind of just a funny thing of whether that's what you were going for or not. It just kind of picked up. What was it like? I mean, going on to Twitter, going on to different social medias, and seeing or hearing different things about your look, and being like, oh shoot, like I've actually caught the attention of big people like around the country.
Yeah, it didn't hit me that it was so national until I got a call from a radio station in Colorado, and they're like, "Hey, can we do an interview?" And I was like, "Sure." And he like asked me on the phone, and he was like, "Why a mustache?" Like, and I was like, "Well, I can't have a beard." And he's like, "Oh, you just can't grow it?" I'm like, "No, like it's because BYU like won't let you." And so it was just kind of like a funny thing because people didn't understand like the honor code and like that you can have a mustache, but you can't have a beard and everything. Oh, my bad.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's probably it was a big confusion for a ton of people is they just have no idea that that's a rule because
Yeah.
when you see somebody with just a mustache, it's pretty often, especially like in the sports realm like yourself, it's just like interesting. Like usually
Interesting
it's full
choice.
beard,
Yeah.
nothing, right? And so kind of having that, not having that perspective of knowing that that's like an actual like school rule.
Yeah. And I want to make it clear too that I didn't think it was a good look. Like I know it wasn't good looking. Like I'm gonna make that clear right now. Like
Okay, that's good. There we go.
Oh wait, did your wife like it?
it grew on her. I mean,
That's what matters.
Well, needless
Yeah.
to say, you've blossomed into your true self now. You've got the full beard, you've got the bleached hair. I mean, you look great.
I
I'm glad
appreciate it.
we get to talk to the no limits, no restraints, Zac Seljaas.
I love it.
You know, and like building off of like this personality that you've kind of developed, and you've got your look, but you've also got a lot of personality on the court. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've been known to trash talk here and there. Is that true?
Yeah, it's true.
Now,
Hey,
everybody loves a good trash talker, and I feel like every successful team needs one. You're just like the hype man out there, and I could see, you know, if I'm on the other team and I see this dude and he's got like the crazy hair and he's got the mustache, and then he's the one talking trash, I'm just gonna get so heated, and I could so easily see how that would throw up. When you trash talk, is it all in good fun, or are you serious? Like, are you really, like, what's your attitude when you're trash talking? Are you really saying like I'm better than you, or is it all just kind of in good fun?
No, it's all in good fun. I mean, I don't hate anyone,
yeah.
and it's just all part of the game. I mean, I've learned this last year just brought out all my love for basketball. I mean, Coach Pope really brought it out, and that's just when it like peaked, and I was like just having so much fun, and you know, when I'm having so much fun, I just can't stop talking, and then I start saying things I probably shouldn't say, and then it just goes along with that, and you know, it's just kind of, you know, someone that I like to get in people's head. I mean, I love Reggie Miller, and
Yes.
so he's kind of watching him has kind of taught me that. So
Yeah.
it's kind of been my thing, I guess.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Was it I mean, so were you like, would you just talk about like things that would like happen during the game, or would you like get personal? Like for example, like in high school, me and some buddies, like we'd get like before a football game, before a Friday night, we'd get like the roster of the other team, and like after watching film and everything, we'd know the names of the dudes that we'd be like lining up against and like seeing a ton on the field, and so we'd like look them up. Like we'd go on their social medias, we'd go on everything and like get some information about them and bring it up, right? And just like bring up this random stuff and just kind of dig a little bit. And I'm trying to pitch a tent in their head, get in their head for the rest of the game. So would you like get personal, or would you just like things that happened on the court talk about that?
What Brendan's trying to say is like how intense was
Yeah,
it?
did
So,
you watch
did you put
film
in
for-
research
yeah.
for your trash talk?
No, I was not a personal. I didn't know if they had a girlfriend or a wife. I didn't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to be a part of that. I don't want them talking about my wife. And so I was like, all right, we'll just keep it in the game scenario and just keep it there.
That's wise.
Off the cuff is always better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and one more question about the team from this past year. Is there anybody on the team that you feel like is a little bit underrated? You know, obviously we all know the big names. We know the guys who you know lead the stat sheet every night. But was there a guy that you played with, either it doesn't have to be from this year, but in your past 4 years where you were like, you know what, that guy was a baller and he didn't really get a lot of recognition or credit for it?
I feel like we've had a ton of guys. I mean, I could name, you know, multiple guys from every single year. I mean, like we had Jordan Chapman, who was phenomenal, and he's making a living overseas because he is so good. And he killed it at Boston College when he transferred. I mean, we had Jamal Aites, who was fantastic, went and played professionally as well, and we have a lot of guys on this last year's team. I kind of like Richard Harwood is going to be phenomenal. I mean, he's he is you cannot stop him. He's just a truck down there, and there's no way you can stop him. And like there's just so many guys that are so good in different ways, and it's just exciting to see where this next year's team will thrive. But like Trevin Nell is a phenomenal shooter. I mean, this guy, when he's hot, and he's not going to miss. And there's so many guys that I mean, you could go down the entire stat sheet and say, like, even we had walk on Evan Troy, who that guy was probably one of the best, ball handlers, and so shifty. And it was incredible what he could do during practice. I mean, he's kind of the reason why we were so successful, is because he could do whatever the scouting was. And it was amazing what he could do for that. And so there's a lot of guys, and it's hard to just pick like one or two guys.
So what you're saying is wasn't a one and done. It's not a one great year for Coach Pope and it's going downhill. Things are still looking good for the future for BYU basketball.
They're looking great. Let's put it at that. It's going to be great.
Awesome. That's
awesome,
good to hear.
Man.
So back to Zac Seljaas, right? So you've made it public. You've said that basketball's not over for you. What is your plan? What are you working towards? What are you training for? What's kind of the next step for you in life, in your basketball career? What's next?
So I hired an agent about a month ago, and he's just kind of working to get me some job opportunities overseas to play professionally. And so now I'm just training, I'm just keeping it going, and then just waiting for our baby and our family to get going, and taking my family overseas wherever we can find it, and see where we can make a living. I mean, just see how it goes.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, man. That is really cool. Just from talking to you're a really down to earth guy, and you clearly got the work ethic. And when we reached out to you to ask you to do the interview, I didn't know if I didn't know what your plans were. And then like right after that, you posted that you were going to pursue your dream to play professional basketball. And so I think that's awesome, man. And we've seen lots of great athletes come out of BYU and make it overseas, make it in the NBA. So I'm really excited for you, man. I think you're going to do great things.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, we're excited to see, where it can take us. So it'll be exciting.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be exciting, nerve-wracking, just kind of one of those, all right, let's see what happens and go from there and make the best out of whatever opportunity you get, right? That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for doing this interview, man. This really meant the world to us. We don't have a huge following right now. We tried this a couple months ago, and we just got so busy, and we stopped doing it.
There's also no sports to talk about, which kind of
there haven't been.
We were getting bigger, and then all of a sudden everything happened, and so. But seriously, yeah, we can't thank you enough for being willing to come on and share so much about your journey, about your time at BYU, your time in high school. Seriously, we appreciate it.
We've wanted guests for a long time, and we kind of just didn't know where to start. And just taking a few months off, I was like, man, I sat next to Zac Seljaas in class. I wonder if he would get back to me. And so it just says a lot about you that you were willing to get back to me and be willing to do this. Is very, very kind of you. So we're just really grateful. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for letting me come on.
Oh, of course, man. Of course. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We'll let you get back to your day, get back to your wife and your family. But good luck having a kid here in the upcoming month or so, and good luck overseas, man. We're excited for you. We're rooting for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Awesome. All right.